In today's video, we're going to be focusing on a major thing that so many English learners struggle with, and that is how to think in English. Now, this is such a difficult thing that you need to learn when you're learning any language, but today we're specifically talking about how to think in English. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and get ready for a fantastic classroom video on how to think in English. Let's go. So let's be very practical here. I'm going to give you a list of practical tips on how to transform your thinking into English. Okay, tip number 1, naming objects. Let's keep it nice and simple, okay? Naming objects. Start with your immediate environment. Look around your room, where are you? And each object, just name it in English. Say cup, window, computer, table, desk. Work your way round the environment and name each object. Okay, but here's the extra tip. Record yourself doing this. Listen back to your pronunciation and compare it to a native speaker. Correct any mistakes you're doing, but make sure you do this naming all the objects. This is an easy, simple way to begin thinking in English. Okay, let's take a step up. Simple sentences now. So as you're doing things, narrate or say what you're doing. So rather than seeing a cup of coffee and saying coffee, change it to I am drinking coffee. Start formulating those simple sentences describing what you're doing. You don't need to talk to anybody else, just describe what you're doing. You can do this with anything. I am brushing my teeth. I am taking a shower. I am preparing my breakfast. Everything you do, just narrate and tell yourself what you're doing in English. A tip to really do this effectively is use a voice to text app whilst you're talking to see if the computer can effectively listen to your pronunciation and write what you're saying. This immediate feedback will refine your sentence construction. The next tip, have a conversation. But keep it simple, no pressure. First of all, before you start having conversations with native speakers, if you still feel a little bit too nervous to do this, then start with an AI. So for example, you could speak to Siri. Hi Siri, and start a conversation with Siri. Obviously, say I need to speak in English and have that conversation with your AI. There are so many providers where you can practice talking without the nerves of talking to a real person. But start simple with these small little conversations. This will help you to begin to think and formulate conversations and sentences in English. For example, discuss your plans for the day with the AI, or discuss a book that you've been reading with the AI. The next tip, immersing yourself in English within your daily routine. So for example, label all of the things in your home with their English name. So for example, in your bedroom, use post-it or sticky notes to label the different things in your room. You'll become so familiar with looking at their English names that soon it will just become second nature to think that they are called this, what their English name is. Switch your phone, your social media, and even your car's navigation into English. This will mean that you'll start to see English all the time and it will start to become natural to think in that language. These are small, simple tips that you can do that will practically help you with your learning. This constant interaction with English will make it a natural part of your daily life. Okay, the next tip to stop thinking in English is don't use a translator when you find a new word, but rather look up the new word in an English dictionary. Use other English words to help you get a better understanding of the meaning of that word. This will mean that you'll be able to understand the word solely within the language that you are learning. Otherwise, you'll just translate it directly in your head. But, for example, if you think of the word beautiful, Say you've never heard this word before, but you probably have because it's a super common word. If you find the word beautiful in the dictionary, rather than finding the translation of this word into your own language, look it up in the dictionary. You'll find other words that mean the same thing. It will help you grasp the meaning of the word and it'll make you think of it in English rather than the translated version of that word. This is a really good tip. And lastly, reflect on your day by writing in English. This is such a fantastic tip. So write every day in the evening about what you've done that day. Use the time to reflect on the things that you've done and take a note of it in your diary. By doing this, you will practice your sentence structure, you'll be able to practice using new vocabulary that you've learnt, and you'll be able to form a good written level of English, which will then transfer over into your speaking skills when you feel confident enough to use it. That about sums it up for this video. It can seem challenging to stop translating in your head, but with consistent practice and by applying these practical tips, you will get there. So don't be too hard on yourself. Learning a new language and becoming fluent and starting to think in that new language takes time and it won't happen overnight. But keep working hard and you will get there. And remember, I'm here to support you the whole way. So make sure that you're following and subscribing to this channel, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.